The world is running out of chocolate. Not gradually, not eventually. Right now, climate change is destroying crops. Child labor scandals are driving consumers away, and the $138 billion chocolate industry is facing total collapse. But in secretive labs across the world, scientists are racing to grow cocoa without trees, without rainforests, and without human exploitation. They're creating chocolate in bioreactors instead of plantations. Some call it a miracle solution. Others warn it's a corporate power grab that could destroy the livelihoods of 14 million farmers. Today, we're going inside the controversial world of lab-grown cocoa, where billion-dollar corporations are battling startups for control of your future chocolate bar. And what I discovered about who's really behind this technology might shock you. That chocolate bar in your pantry? It might soon become a luxury few can afford. In 2025, cocoa prices spiked 45% as climate change ravaged West African farms, where 70% of the world's cocoa grows. The problem isn't just the weather. Cocoa trees are incredibly finicky. They need specific conditions. Not too hot, not too cold, just the right amount of rainfall. And they're being hit by a triple threat: rising temperatures, unpredictable rainfall, and devastating fungal infections like witch's broom disease. Walk through a cocoa farm in Ghana today and you'll see the evidence everywhere. Blackened pods hanging uselessly from trees, leaves curled and spotted with disease. Farmers who once harvested 800 kilograms per hectare now struggle to produce half that amount. But climate isn't the only crisis. That cheap chocolate bar has another cost: human suffering. Despite decades of promises from chocolate giants, child labor remains rampant. A 2023 study found over 1.5 million children working in hazardous conditions on cocoa farms, like swinging machetes while handling toxic pesticides. This ethical stain is driving younger consumers away. A recent survey showed 62% of Gen Z consumers now actively avoid major chocolate brands due to these concerns. As one industry analyst put it, the chocolate industry is facing an existential crisis of both supply and demand. Enter the bioreactor, a gleaming stainless steel vessel that looks more at home in a brewery than a chocolate factory. Inside this high-tech container, something remarkable is happening. Chocolate is being born without a single cocoa tree in sight. At Switzerland's ZHAW Research Institute, scientists have pioneered what they call scab-grown chocolate. It sounds unappetizing, but the process is ingenious. They take a tiny piece of cocoa plant tissue, about the size of a pencil eraser, and place it in a nutrient-rich bath. The cells multiply rapidly, creating a brown mass that contains the same flavor compounds found in cocoa beans. We're essentially tricking plant cells into producing chocolate precursors without needing the tree, the pod, or the bean, explains Dr. Thilo Huhn, who leads the ZHAW research team. It's like growing just the valuable part of the plant. Meanwhile, in California, a startup called California Cultured is taking a different approach. They're using stem cell technology, similar to what's being developed for lab-grown meat, to create cocoa cells in massive quantities. Their bioreactors can produce in weeks what would take a cocoa tree years. The most surprising thing? The taste. In blind tests, some lab-grown chocolate samples scored higher than conventional chocolate. The reason? Scientists can enhance certain flavor compounds like theobromine, which gives chocolate its characteristic fruity notes while reducing bitter compounds. We're not just replicating chocolate, says Alan Perlstein, CEO of California Cultured. We're perfecting it. The environmental math is compelling too. Lab-grown cocoa uses 98% less land than traditional farming. No rainforests need to be cleared. No pesticides sprayed or wasted water. The catch? Energy demands are about 35% higher per kilogram produced, a trade-off that companies are working to address with renewable energy sources. Behind the scientific breakthrough lies a high-stakes battle for control. Patents for cellular agriculture techniques are being filed at a frantic pace, with over 200 applications related to lab-grown cocoa in the last 3 years alone. The biggest players aren't startups. They're the chocolate giants themselves. Mars has quietly invested $2.1 billion in synthetic biology ventures. Nestlé has built a secretive R&D facility in Switzerland focused exclusively on cellular agriculture. This corporate involvement has sparked accusations of biopiracy. In a controversial case, Nestlé was sued for allegedly using protected Criollo cocoa cell lines taken from Venezuelan gene banks without proper compensation to local communities. These corporations are essentially stealing genetic resources that indigenous farmers have cultivated for centuries, claims Maria Rodriguez of the Cocoa Farmers Alliance. Then they patent the technology and lock out the very people who preserve these varieties. The greenwashing concerns are real too. While companies tout the carbon benefits of lab chocolate, many production facilities are being built in Malaysia and other regions with coal-powered electrical grids. One facility claiming to produce carbon-neutral chocolate was found to be powered primarily by fossil fuels. Perhaps most concerning is the farmer backlash. In Ivory Coast, protests erupted when government funding for cellular research and development displaced living wage initiatives for cocoa farmers. Signs at one demonstration read, "Don't replace us, pay us fairly." The moral questions surrounding lab-grown chocolate are as complex as its flavor profile. On one hand, eliminating child labor and deforestation from chocolate production seems unquestionably positive. Lab-grown cocoa could potentially end these systemic problems overnight. On the other hand, what happens to the 14 million smallholder farmers who currently depend on cocoa for their livelihoods? Most lack the education or resources to transition to high-tech jobs in cellular agriculture. We're talking about potentially making millions of farmers obsolete, warns Dr. Aisha Nkrumah, an agricultural economist at the University of Ghana. Without careful transition planning, we could solve one ethical problem by creating another. There's also the question of cultural preservation. Traditional fermentation techniques, where cocoa beans develop their complex flavors in wooden boxes covered with banana leaves, would be replaced by standardized industrial processes. Centuries of artisanal knowledge could disappear. Chocolate isn't just a food, it's a cultural heritage, explains Carlos Mendez, a third-generation cocoa farmer from Ecuador. Each region has unique fermentation methods passed down through generations. Lab chocolate homogenizes all of that into a single product. Some are fighting back against corporate control. Ecuador's Cocoa Commons project is creating open-source cellular agriculture techniques that farmers' cooperatives can use themselves. Their motto, "The future of chocolate belongs to everyone." The technology behind lab-grown chocolate isn't standing still. It's evolving in directions that sound more science fiction than science. NASA is experimenting with zero-gravity cocoa cultures aboard the International Space Station. Early results suggest that, without gravity's constraints, cocoa cells develop unique flavor compounds never before tasted on Earth. Even more radical is MIT's Digital Cocoa project, which aims to stimulate brain receptors directly with electrical signals that mimic chocolate consumption. No calories, no production needed at all. Perhaps most fascinating is Givaudan's work on epigenetic nostalgia, using genetic techniques to recreate chocolate flavor profiles from the 19th century, before modern hybridization changed cocoa varieties forever. We've analyzed chocolate residue from 150-year-old containers, explains Dr. Simone Barth of Givaudan. We can now recreate flavors that no living person has ever tasted. So, what does all this mean for your chocolate fix? Within 5 years, lab-grown chocolate will likely appear on store shelves, first as a premium product, then gradually becoming more affordable as production scales up. Traditional chocolate won't disappear overnight. Instead, we will most likely see a bifurcation of the market: the mass-produced lab chocolate for everyday consumption and premium bean-to-bar chocolate as a luxury good. Much like how synthetic vanilla dominates the market, while naturally made vanilla is considered premium. The most promising path forward may be a hybrid approach. Some companies are exploring models where lab-grown cocoa provides the bulk ingredients, while traditional farmers focus on premium, single-origin beans, preserving livelihoods while addressing sustainability concerns. What's certain is that chocolate, that ancient food that the Mayans called food of the gods, is undergoing its most dramatic transformation in 4,000 years of human consumption. The question isn't whether chocolate will survive, it's whether we can ensure that its future is as rich and complex as its past. A future that includes both technological innovation and respect for the people and traditions that have given us one of our most beloved foods. Interestingly, while lab-grown chocolate represents cutting-edge tech, traditional chocolate production has always relied on one of humanity's oldest food technologies: fermentation. Few chocolate lovers realize that cocoa beans must ferment for days before developing their characteristic flavor. Without this microbial magic, chocolate would taste flat and bitter. The same microscopic organisms that transform cabbage into sauerkraut are cousins to those that create chocolate's complex flavor profile. If you're fascinated by how these ancient preservation techniques might hold the key to modern health problems, check out our video on fermented foods. The link is in the description below. You'll discover how the same biological processes that create chocolate's complex flavors also produce foods that can transform your gut microbiome and boost immunity. The connection between what we eat and how we feel has never been clearer, whether we're talking about traditional fermented foods or the high-tech chocolate of tomorrow.